then we'll have the pledge. So, Committee.
Thank you. Good morning. If you'll bow with me. Good and gracious Father, we come before you grateful and thankful to ask for your blessing during this time today. Please give us great wisdom, patience, and also just guidance as we try to do the work of Monroe County, Georgia today. Thank you for our first responders, for all of the men and women that serve in our armed forces. Thank you for all of our wonderful employees that do the hard work day to day for this county. We're so grateful for them as well. And we just thank you for all of those that are here today. Please give your blessings to each and every one of them. And we thank you all of these things. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Let's pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Abbott, if you would give us a roll call, please.
Commissioner Tapley.
I'm here.
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Ambrose.
Here.
Commissioner Mommy.
Here.
Commissioner Rowland is present by phone.
Yes, sir. Here. That's right. All right. I'll call this meeting of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners to order. Before we get started, I want to make two quick introductions of some guests we have here today. All of y'all are welcome guests, but we've got two that I'd like to introduce. First, I've got Ms. Joyce White, who is here with the Monroe County Development Authority. She's the new executive director there. Glad to have you. Congratulations on being selected for that. And I know we've interacted before and have appreciated your work in the past with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, working under Sonny Perdue, and also you worked under Congressman Scott's office for a while too. So appreciate all our interactions and looking forward to more and what you plan to and are able to do here in Monroe County with the Development Authority. Thank you. We've also got Shanita Davis here, and she's with Senator Warnock's office, and she's come just to be a member and to listen and to see what the concerns and requests are from our area. Okay, so good to have you, Shanita. All right, before we get started with our regular course of business, we've got a speaker's appearance, and that's Mrs. Kim Poupard. And Kim, if you would come up. Kim is with the group. What's the subdivision? Cedar Creek. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And so, if you would, Kim, you've been working on some of the issues that we've kind of had ongoing there. Looking forward to hearing what you have to present to us today.
I do it in two different phases. One is to correct information that was given at the last meeting, and then the other is to show that we are willing to work with the county to do something with our roads. At the last meeting, Ms. Anita Thomas said that she had spoken with other residents about the county taking over the Cedar Creek private roads, and she had not reached out to anybody. We were unaware that she was coming to me. We were unaware that she had reached out to Mr. Watts to look at the roads. We've since had some discussions and are planning on having a neighborhood meeting to talk about what we need to do. She also stated that our subdivision was built out, and it's not. Henry Holdings has 23 lots, and our neighborhood is still built out. So I'm not sure where that information came from. She stated that she was told in 2019 that there was an HOA. We have not had an HOA since 2008 when the market crashed, and I recently found that they were legally dissolved in 2016. So we haven't had an HOA for quite a while. When she received the $50,000 quote from Mr. Watts about road repairs, she stated that the residents wouldn't be willing to repair them. And again, since we didn't know that she was coming to the meeting, that's false. The large part of what she discussed was children riding ATVs on the private roads because they have not been taken over by the county. There are two children that haven't been riding since that meeting, but they were riding a lot. But other than some of us talking to them about their speed and their safety, most of the residents that I've spoken to have not had a problem with the noise. And that she was saying that the children don't have helmets on. They do have helmets. The ones driving, they have helmets. There is one gentleman that occasionally rides with his toddler in front of him, but I think he's literally going 4 miles an hour. It's like just ride up and down the street. It's not a irresponsible riding. She and Ms. Downer also said that they were bringing in trailerfuls of people with ATVs to ride. I haven't seen that. For years, we've had people come off of 83 somewhere and ride through our neighborhood, but I have not seen trailerfuls of ATVs. So that is your correct information from the last meeting. Since then, I have spoken with other residents, because through the years, we've been there since 2007, and the neighborhood was started in 06. Somewhere through the years, and I don't know if it was lawyers, realtors, whatever, my husband and I were told that the county would not take the roads over until the development was finished. So since we know now, based on the information y'all gave, that's not accurate, I've researched and gotten some different information. So this next section is just to show things that we're working on so that we can have a relationship with the county to do something with the roads. I've spoken with planning and zoning, and we're planning on putting up a Cedar Creek Estate sign at the entrance. We put up neighborhood watch signs to try to help some of the people, hopefully, that come in there to do no good. I have spoken directly to Sheriff Freeman for clarification concerning the Georgia laws on ATVs. And private roads or not, it is not illegal to ride without a helmet, and the driver does not have to be 16. He said legally you have to have written permission from the owner of that private property to ride, but since that's Henry Holdings and we can't get in touch with him, that's not going to happen. But I don't feel like that's a problem, and I think it was a nobody's issue. Since Mark Connor with Henry Holdings is unreachable, I have spoken with Ms. Lori Andrews about the possibility of the lots being sold by the county as the property taxes are very past due. And she said they've tried in the past, but that she would work with Mr. Vaughn to see what they could do, but it wouldn't be this year. So that's an option for resolution. I also spoke to her about there's a portion, it's a phase 2 in our neighborhood that's gated. 2 investment companies bought that several years back and made it an 80-acre lot. And that's owned by Mr. Tommy Vaughn. And I've spoken to him, and they don't have any plans to develop that. They bought it to back up to their Sutton Road property. Mr. Watts has been out several times to meet with me, House and Asphalt, and to reevaluate the roads. And he recommended House and Asphalt, and he recommended DOT for some work that we need done at the entrance. And he and Mr. Hedges have helped us out with new street signs, and we appreciate that. Work that he's done. So we have all new street signs throughout the neighborhood. Marty with House and Asphalt came out and said the roads are not in that bad shape except for 2 portions on Red Cedar Court. Do y'all have the copies of the map that I provided last week?
Yes.
Okay. Red Cedar Court has 2 portions that need paving, and we got an estimate from House and Asphalt, $9,000 to do just those 2. House and Asphalt, he suggested not doing anything to Creek View Road, which is the one that's so overgrown, until some development was finished, because we'd be right back in the same condition. He gave me the name of Middle Georgia Enhancements to come out to talk about clearing the overgrowth. Philip Bunn has been out and has given me an estimate. How do you break it down into just Cedar Creek Drive and then a separate quote for Creek View, which is so overgrown? Because if we're not going to do anything till development, why spend that money? I've spoken to the Board of Education about the possibility of having them help us with some of the paving because buses turn around in those spots. And in some circumstances, they do repair roads, but we would have to prove that only the bus could have damage. And we can do that. But they are coming out to look at the area to get the buses to route through the neighborhood instead of turning around, so that'll help. Also, when I spoke to House and Asphalt, he said those 2 ATVs are not damaging our roads. We've got DOT coming out to vacuum out the drainage ditch at the entrance. And so when I spoke with Mr. Tapley, I clarified that the road that's so overgrown, which is Creek View, does not have to be driven to get to anybody's home out there. There's one resident on that road that she can get to it by Cedar Creek Drive. So with all this information, I came back to ask if the county would be willing to reconsider taking over Red Cedar Court, Deer Run, and Cedar Creek Drive if the residents are willing to they can get those up to par and leave Creekview until a later time. But also, in addition to that, I guess this would be a question for Mr. Bond. If that was agreed upon, is there any way to guarantee that when a developer comes in for those 23 lots, that they would be held responsible for getting that road up to par?
Ben, did you have an answer on that?
The developer, that if they purchase those 23 lots, would be in the same position as the current homeowners are. They would have the easement to cross those roads, but the Henry Holdings of Tallahassee would still own those roads. So I don't know that we can guarantee that the developer will be required to bring that last road up to self-standard.
So it's possible the neighborhood would be back in the same
Right.
situation. So based on what y'all had said last time, if we get the roads up to par, then the county would be willing to take those over.
Quick straw poll. I mean, again, the premise is that the residents would come together, they would get the roads up to speed, up to juniors' standards. And then from there, once they did that, then we would accept the roads. I mean, any problem with that? I did not.
Do we have to condemn them, or would we have to condemn them first?
Well, that would be the first, right, I'm sorry. Go ahead with that.
Well, I think the first step would be to allow the residents to bring the roads up to, well, not allow half the residents to bring the roads up to county standards. But I think we're going to be in a similar situation to where we were in Riverwalk Commissioner, where we're not going to have the ability to contact Mr. Connor or the willingness from Mr. Connor to actually sign the deed. So we probably require the same declaration of taking process that we did for the Riverwalk subdivision.
And in the process of condemning it, wouldn't we be responsible?
I'm sorry.
If we condemn them, wouldn't we be responsible for compensating them for the property we take?
In the Riverwalk instance, the homeowners association had an opinion of value that there was no value in those roads, that the value of the roads was intrinsic with the lots and the homes attached to it.
And they agreed to pay it.
That in that situation, there was an indemnity agreement where, in the event the court found that the roads did have value, that the homeowners association was responsible for that cost, not the county. Yes, sir.
And that would have to be the same in this incident here too.
I would suggest you follow the same process. Yes, sir.
But I mean, I'm okay with that.
But I mean, are they aware of that?
So we wouldn't get compensated.
No.
If in the condemnation, the courts come out and say that those roads are worth $100,000 apiece, and we got to compensate that bankrupt place or whoever it is, we would not be responsible for that. Y'all would be responsible if that happens. I mean, there's a double-sided sword on that one.
So the process we used with Riverwalk was that the homeowners association hired a private law firm. I associated them through my firm to allow them to file the declaration of taking. The homeowners association was responsible for the cost of that private firm. I oversaw the process, but they bore the majority of the cost of condemning those roads, and the county accepted those roads at the end of the process.
Do you have any idea what that cost was? Just
I do not.
maybe let them know. Let that group, let the Cedar Creek group know.
I don't have a way of getting that information, Commissioner. That would be a matter that would be private between the HOA and that attorney.
Could you get them that attorney's information, let them reach out directly?
Just so you
That's
have an
what I-
idea of what you're looking at, we're headed into the process. John's right. I mean, if there was a value that's assigned, it's condemned, then of course that would be on y'all to pay that. So that would be the understanding up front. So, and I would hate to see you have to incur that cost when somebody hasn't been involved for 13 years. When did this guy?
I think the risk of that, Commissioner, is minimal. I don't, and obviously can't guarantee that, but so I think y'all are wise to be sure that you account for that risk exposure there. But I think the odds of any answer being filed is very minimal. I sent y'all an article, and anybody can Google it if they're interested. But there's a large article on the Department of Justice's website where Mr. Connor was prosecuted for all kinds of nefarious dealings, and there's hundreds of thousands of pages of files to the Northern District Court regarding seizure of these assets. It's probably unclear to him, it's at least unclear to me as to who has authority over these. They're still titled in Henry Holdings, but I think the odds of an answer are small, and the odds of a litigation of the value of the roads is small, especially given the fact that the county has fairly significant tax liens on those properties.
Can I ask Mr. Watts a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Were you able to come back out and look at Cedar Creek Drive if we got that? Would it be paving or just the trees in the road?
Tree and old growth, and some shoulder building, there's a lot of places where we could do it.
Okay.
Any other thoughts or questions for Ms. Bouchard? Any other thoughts or questions for us? We appreciate the work you're doing, the slow, steady process, doing your research, taking your time, and all the work you're doing, and to the other residents, for bringing it, to our attention, and we're glad to help out in any way we can.
Well, we're planning on having a meeting probably late August.
If you'll let me know, or let's see, is that my district too? So, Marcus and I.
Sure, I know.
Yeah. Thank you, Kim. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, time to move into the regular new business. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I got a motion to approve the agenda. I got a second from Commissioner Davis. Any discussion on that? Any additions, deletions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Eddie?
Aye.
Okay, so that's the agenda's approved. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes both from June 15th, 2021 and June 18th, 2021.
Make a motion to approve the normal time limit.
Motion approved by Commissioner Ambrose. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Commissioner Rowland? Aye. Okay, so we've got, those minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is item C, administrative policy donations. Ms. Robinson, if you would, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This policy kind of goes hand in hand with our budget process. So that's why we go and get this out now, so we can get it out to nonprofit organizations. We have several organizations that we have funded, no rhyme or reason. It's just been in the budget, part of me coming, part of y'all, and we've just continued to fund some of these organizations. In the meantime, we've had other nonprofit organizations come to us requesting donations. The county is not obligated and they do not have to do this, but I will tell you in governments it is kind of a precedence that you do, but that's when you put a policy in place so you're kind of fair to all of the organizations. Now this is not including our authorities or our agencies that are directly related to us, i.e. the Development Authority. This does not include them or the health department or the hospital. Those are agencies or authorities that is directly related to the government. These are other organizations like the Hubbard Alumni, which we've been funding, the Historical Society, it would be those organizations. So the policy we've kind of put in place, and I do this from one of my counterparts, that we have put in place there. And we just came up with an amount that we thought would kind of coincide with what we've done in the past. In the budget for this year, we have approximately $24,000 to $25,000 allocated to nonprofit organizations, ranging from ranging from $500 to $10,000, going to about 7 organizations. So we put in our request here, and y'all can change this if you want to, is no more than $20,000 annually. We have never asked for anything in the past for them to show how they're spending the money or what they're spending it for. It's just been a number that's been going in the budget that's just continued. So this request would put a little bit of work on the nonprofit organization. They would need to complete an application to send to us that they would like some funding from us or donations or contributions from the county. And they would have to show us a budget and allocations of where they would be spending these monies. like I said, we've done this in the past for other county and city counterparts. So we just put kind of a process in place so that we see where the money's being, where the dollars going to, because these should be organizations or nonprofit organizations in our county to help our citizens and community. I'm not gonna read it verbatimly, I know y'all got it, read it, but that's it in a nutshell.
Okay.
And
Any
we're
questions?
asking for
I make a
approval.
motion to approve her recommendation.
Okay, got a motion to approve and a second. Motion to approve by Commissioner Ambrose, got a second, Commissioner Davis. All right, we're in discussion. Any discussion on that? I think it's appropriate to have a policy like that in place, absolutely. Eddie, you got any thoughts or comments?
I'm good.
Okay.
Should we, is it important to make sure that there is no funding to political campaigns and or organizations from those?
I mean, that could be part of the policy, can't it? I mean, it's,
I think that would be important if we're, doing a nonprofit that it needs to be going towards that nonprofit and not political stuff.
also, should we put a limit, a maximum per? Because what if somebody comes in with a great proposal, and they say, hey, we need $20,000, and then.
I think in the past, we've been doing 5,000 on.
That's right.
Cap it.
Four.
Cap it at 5, and then that way it's given out a little more equitably.
Yeah, so nothing, a prohibition against political, activism or whatever on part of the charity, a $5,000 limit per organization. Yeah. Anything else?
In number F, it says all funding requests must be submitted by April 1st of each year for consideration for funding
Yeah,
the
we'll
next
change-
fiscal year.
Yeah, we'll change that for this year, because of course we're like getting it out, but we would like it by April 1st, so then we have their plan in place to start going into the budget process for us, which is usually July or May.
You know how much we've paid out so far this year for the nonprofits?
We budgeted approximately 25,000, and we've kind of set it up in like allocations, on a monthly or quarterly basis, depending on how they want it. We are, and it looks like that's pretty much what we've done for all of them. So we've done it budgeted it per month to them. So they're giving either monthly or quarterly allocation. So it's matching our budget perfect because we should get 60%, and that's what I'm showing on here.
And will we notify the ones who we're currently giving to
So
about
we'll
the
get
change
this in the
here?
policy.
Okay.
One other thing I just thought about was, I know in the past for example, I don't think Commissioner Rowland will mind me using an example that he was able to use some of his discretionary funds, and the way he liked to do it, and Eddie, definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but what he liked to do was, kind of match, making a match to what the group came up with. So, hey, if in Cologne they wanted a community center and they came up with 5,000, he would match it with 5,000 of his. We don't have to get into all of that today. Just maybe that might be a thought too. Is Eddie, am I right on how I characterize it?
You let those entities have a little skin in the game, and I think that's helpful for everybody. I think that's healthy.
I mean, so is it a one for? So if we're going to implement a match policy as part of this, is it one for one? Is it for every dollar that they've got a project they want to do? I'm just going to make this up. Backlot Players did a real nice marquee. They wanted to do something like that. Hey, it's a $10,000 marquee. We're going to put 5,000 in, and we'll match that for 5,000. That's an example.
Well, if they're doing something specific, you should certainly do that. If they're just saying in general, we'd like you to make a donation, then that they may not have a specific thing. We may ask that, but we may want to ask for specific things that they want to spend it on. I guess we could do that.
Are you there?
But I think, would you consider a donation in general? So I guess that might be a question. Do we want to do that?
Well, and that's why I said, I just threw that out, and I hadn't had time to, kind of work through it like you're talking about. Some just do a great amount of work, but they don't have any specific project, and we wouldn't want to, punish them for not having something specific. Why don't we just leave that out of it for now? But we can always come back and adjust it you know.
Yeah, and I always consider this, if a certain commissioner has a certain area that he wants more than this fund can allocate, he could put some, he or she could put some of their, discretionary money into it additionally. This doesn't stop. If the commission gave $500 or something and I wanted to take $500 of my discretionary money because it was important to me and my district, I can certainly still do that.
Sure. So let's stick with, so right now, you need some direction on this, I would entertain a motion
We already got it.
here. Oh, that's right, we're in discussion, thanks, yeah, sorry. We got those, the non-political and the $5,000 limit are also part of that. Okay, so we're in that. Any other discussion on it? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Eddie?
Aye.
All right, we've got a unanimous vote on that, and you've got your,
Y'all know, I'm gonna send this out to the ones that we're already doing now, so if y'all have any other organizations that you would like me to send this to, just let me know.
okay, very good. All right, next item on the agenda is the Strickland Loop landfill concrete issue. Mr. Hedges.
It seems like every month I get to talk about the landfill. Hopefully this will wind it up this year. Strickland Loop concrete pit. This is it right in the middle of our landfill. It was put in there a number of years ago by a subcontractor, Georgia Department of Transportation. EPD every year has said, you gotta move it, you gotta get it out of the footprint of the landfill. And this year, they put their foot down and said, by November 1st, guys, you gotta show us something. So, I think you've all heard me talk about bringing in heavy equipment and crushing it. We've got a better plan. This is a Google Earth view. This is the entrance into the landfill. And it's difficult to see, but if you look back in this area, you can see maybe some slabs. They had earlier, a few years ago, moved some of the slabs from the concrete pit and somewhat put a pavement back in here. This is the area where we have trees and limbs. This area is the appliance area. Over here you can see some more slabs that are put down. But in the middle, we've got a big area that is just dirt. Believe it or not, this area that's been cleared off is an approved, permitted inert landfill. Coming back to the cement pit, we have a road that comes down on both sides. So we have areas in the front of the landfill. We have a road that we could put some slabs on that go into the inert landfill. We have some roads on both sides of the concrete pit that we can put some of these slabs. And then we've got the huge inert landfill. We went to bid. What would it cost to crush, remove, get all that concrete out? Bids range from $1,150,000 to $1,377,000. And we said, we got this, hold my beer. We can do it ourselves. The challenge is to remove 40,000 cubic yards from the concrete pile to the entrance of the landfill, the designated inert area, roads around the concrete pile. That totals up 50 to 60,000 tons. We've got to show progress on this by November the 1st. So what do we need to do this? Junior dreams this stuff in his sleep. A Caterpillar 950 GC wheel loader. A Caterpillar articulated truck 745. This one is significantly larger than the one we purchased a year or so ago. And we need a Cat 336 excavator with an H160 thumb. The cost to rent this material is $52,000 a month. There's a 3-month minimum. We've got to buy some fuel, room for a budget would be $200,000. 3 months rent. Caterpillar says we can do it in 3 to 4 months. Junior thinks it can complete it in 3 months. The consumables will be about 50 gallons of diesel per day for all equipment. So we're looking at 3,000 to 4,000 gallons of diesel. We own a 500-gallon portable tank, so we've got the ability to fuel on site. So we're looking at $200,000, a savings of about $950,000. Where am I going to get the $200,000? We've talked about our probate fines and forfeitures being up. As of mid-July, we were up by $190,000. It should be significantly more than that. So basically, the funding for this project would come from the general fund. The team will be Gary Pugh. He's our team leader. He's the Deputy Public Works Director. Albert McClendon, he's the heavy equipment operator. Josh Wimberly, most of you know him as Bam Bam. He's the wheel loader operator, heavy equipment operator. And Kalen Gasson, he's also a heavy equipment operator. And I'm sure there will be heavy influence from Junior Watson. So, Mr. Chairman, what we would like to do is obtain approval to enter into a lease agreement with Yancey Brothers with a 3-month minimum for the equipment that I've shown you, plus consumables and contingency not to exceed $200,000 without further board approval.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board? First, do y'all have any questions for Mr. Hedges on that?
Give me the quick rundown on how we acquired this. You said it was Georgia DOT.
We got the shaft.
Yeah.
Subcontractor, I understand, from Georgia DOT. And there might have been a lawsuit involved in this.
I mean,
Settlement.
is there any possibility we can go after anybody for any of this? Or
They
just
settled on it.
the county did?
Yeah, we got what, $50,000 out of it?
I think it was something like that.
We had a couple commissioners that were agreeable to take this concrete, should have been shot.
All right. That makes sense.
I got one
Okay.
question before I forget it. I've got a great staff, and it sounds like we've got the people that can do it. But I do have a question. They're going to be being pulled off of other jobs. Are we going to have to hire anybody else to
Good question.
during this time? I mean, just meaning for budget purposes. We want
I think we'll work it out.
Unless some unforeseen emergency comes up, they can stay on that job for 3 months.
Well, unless we have, act God, act the weather, pouring out a hurricane blows through, other than that.
Still saving $1 million.
to. Yeah, absolutely.
Jeez.
No, it's
If we go 4 months, I mean,
still there.
yeah.
Well,
That's
you've got a
crazy.
contingency in there too, but meaning for part of that, I just was, when you see 4 people that definitely have that's some expertise in operating this equipment, if they're,
I want to go ahead and get started as soon as possible, and McCowan Road, we may have to hold up over the end of the year on McCowan Road, because all the key men are going to be on this project.
Who do we thank for saving the county $1 million? I mean, I want to take a minute and literally say thank you.
Junior.
Okay. So this was your idea? Like you're like, hold my beer. We can do this for a lot less than $1.2 million.
And they helped.
Attaboy, Junior.
And the
Attaboy.
landfill
Thank
helped
you,
him
dude.
out.
Thank you.
They helped him out showing the inner landfill. I mean, we didn't know we had that out there to put that in. So between our guys, they worked it together. Great work.
good job.
Seriously, man.
Absolutely.
God bless you. Thank you. That's huge.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion approved.
Motion approved. Got a second. Motion approved by Commissioner Mommy, second by Commissioner Davis. Any more discussion on it? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And Eddie?
Aye.
Got it. That's unanimous. Junior, you've got it. Jim,
Thank you.
Junior, y'all got direction. Have at it. Thank y'all. Next item on the agenda is the Region 5 EMS Council appointment between Chief Jackson and Jim Hedges.
I'll start it off in that we have 2 representatives on the Central Georgia Regional 5 Emergency Medical Services Council. Chief Matt Jackson is one of our representatives. The second representative has been Chuck Benson. He was the chief of the volunteer fire department. The council has very strict attendance guidelines, and Mr. Benson has not made any of the meetings that held, and he has been dismissed by the council, resulting in us needing to appoint a replacement. Discuss this with Chief Jackson, and he recommends firefighter paramedic Jesse Scruggs to this council, and his term will be 2021-2024. Attached to your documentation is a little write-up from Chief Jackson about firefighter.
I make a motion we approve
Got a
Chief
motion?
Jackson's suggestion.
Jesse
Second.
Suggs. Yeah, got a motion to appoint Jesse Suggs, and second from Commissioner Ambrose, and I got a second from Commissioner Mommy. Any discussion, any questions for Jim or Chief? Hearing none, I'll call.
I do.
Oh, go ahead, Eddie.
Great. I do just want to speak up real quick and say, Chuck Benson's done a great job for us. He has just had a lot of, outside of, issues that he's had to deal with recently, and we appreciate his service, and I just think he's just got some other things he needs to take care of right now.
Well, Chief Benson is still our chief of our volunteer.
Correct.
Right, yeah, Chief Benson is
Right.
chief of the volunteers. We do appreciate him very much and understand that he just can't meet the requirements that the council adheres to, and so that's why we're just gonna put Jesse Suggs on instead, so.
Okay. And Jesse will do a great job.
Absolutely. All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor? Eddie?
All right.
Appointed unanimously, and let Jesse know. Appreciate him. So, all right, next item on the agenda is the ACCG grant for public defender. We've got Doug Smith. Doug, if you'll come up. Doug is our public defender here in Monroe County, and give your presentation on this proposal.
Good morning. A couple of years ago, in 2019, working with my central office, I applied for a couple of grants for our district. As most of you know, through budget meetings and that sort of thing, there aren't a whole lot of grants out there, but we did get one from ACCG, and I know you have a lot going on. So basically, this would cover 200 hours for an intern. Those 200 hours can be split into two. And working with Michelle Naismith, she is the director of policy for civic affairs for ACCG. She's the one that set this up. And basically, it pays for 200 hours at $12 an hour. And this is a situation where the county would hire these two people, and then at the end of the internship would be reimbursed by ACCG. This includes workers' comp, FLAC, and that sort of thing. So there wouldn't be any cost from the counties. The county would have to put them on the workers' compensation plan while they're working. Again, there's reimbursement for that. Currently, I had a couple of candidates I thought were going to fit the bill for this, but fortunately for them, they've got offers from law firms that pay quite a bit more than this. Due to that, the COVID situation, I think a lot of people, it seems like they just took the summer off. A lot of law students are really not participating in internships. I know the DA's office has gotten a few. I've got a couple more candidates. But it's a good opportunity for us, and Ms. Naismith is very understanding. If we can find somebody else, we'll release it to somebody else who can use it. But she's assured me that she understands the situation. She's been great to work with. And even if we didn't use it this summer, we'd be in consideration for next year. She's been really good to work with. I've got a good rapport with her. So I want to bring this to the board. Again, this is something that would help our office out, help our county out, at no cost to the county. And so that's basically the situation with the internship program.
So it'd just be cash flow of the county up front, and that we'd be reimbursed. At
It'd be
the immediate end, or, any idea on that?
Basically, the internship program would end on September 30th, and then once all the paperwork's submitted, you're probably looking at mid-October for reimbursement of the expenses. So you're looking at just salary would be $2,400, but the total reimbursement would be $2,607.60. Again, that included workers' comp and also the FLAC amount. questions?
Any questions? Yes.
It's a no-brainer. I don't even know why you came to it. It should have been
Well,
approved. But I recommend we approve it.
Got a motion? Is that a recommendation or a motion?
I'm motion.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Ambrose. Do I have a second? Got a second, from Commissioner Mommy. Any other discussion? Eddie, do you have any questions about it? No.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
We appreciate y'all filing for those grants too.
Well, I appreciate the help this board's shown me over the years, and just FYI, I have forwarded the documentation of Mr. Vaughn and Mr. Hicks.
So, we got no further discussion. Let me call the question. All in favor? Eddie?
Aye.
Been approved, unanimously. Thank you, Doug.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate your work. on that.
Appreciate what you do, man.
All right, next item on the agenda, financial aid agreement, EMT paramedic Chief Jackson. Come on back up. We should have put all these together.
I assume everyone has a copy of the agreement in question. I had spoken to Mr. Baum. What this goes back to is the county will send personnel to paramedic school, EMT school, even with the assistance of the workforce. The cost of the paramedic school per person is about $6,500, not including their books, any overtime that we have to pay that employee while they're in class or doing clinicals, and can be anywhere from 9 to 12 months. There was nothing in place prior. We could send an employee to school, help them further their education, they become a paramedic at the end of that school, they can say thank you very much, and go on down the road and work for another agency. This plan would help alleviate that, where if that employee did decide to go down the road somewhere else, or were unable to pass the class after that financial assistance had been given, the county could recoup at least some of that cost.
And this is a legal agreement that if they do leave us, we can force them to pay it.
Yes, sir. This is a contract where Chief Jackson has implemented 6 requirements that the employees have to pass, once or to complete, I shouldn't say pass, some of it to pass an exam. And then it's also stay employed with us for a period of 12 months following us paying for their education. And if they don't meet all the requirements, they will be required to reimburse the county the cost of their education. It is an enforceable agreement. The agreement is styled so that Chief Jackson can sign the agreement on behalf of the county so that it doesn't come before the board each time we send somebody to schools. We do need to authorize Chief Jackson to sign the contract on behalf of the county.
That
But
would need to be part of
you
it.
did say that's an enforceable contract.
Yes.
Can that contract go, just say for example, they leave us, go to Macon. Can we let Macon know that contract's on that employee?
You could let them know, but there wouldn't be a way to collect the money directly from the
I realize that, but I mean, these other companies that hire them they might frown because they're gonna hire them. Next guy comes up a little more money, they're gonna go to them too.
Sure, the contract would be a public record once it's submitted.
Okay.
Can we garnish their wages?
If you got a judgment against them based on the contract.
Okay.
I make a motion we approve it.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Ambrose. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Second, Commissioner
Mr.
Mommy.
Chairman, just make sure.
Oh, includes the authorization to sign
Yeah.
by Chief Jackson. You include that in your motion. You
Include.
include that in your second. All right, got a motion to second.
I have one thing.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're in discussion.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, Chief Jackson, I just wanted to make sure, I'm gonna go on your recommendation, but it says, in section 2, employees shall within 3 months of the date, of the written exam, pass the final exam, pass the national registry. I just wanted to, make sure, having seen my son go through this and complete everything and complete all his national registry, is that giving our firefighters and EMTs enough time, or is that 3 months a good window for you, or did they need a little more? I just wanted to make sure not have someone 3 months in a week and all of a sudden they're due to pay all this money because they were a week or two late or a month or two late in taking their national registry.
Yes, sir, I understand your question. I think, Mr. Vaughn, will it allow for an extension on that, if I'm not mistaken, as long as they're showing effort to do what they need to do on their end?
It does. In the chief's absolute sole discretion, he has the ability to extend that contract based on hardship or other conditions that the chief finds excusable for their failure to meet the conditions specified in the agreement. Chief, I will point out too, I'm not sure this is the final contract. We added that one line about 12-month employment. Just get with me, make sure you're using the final version of the contract.
That answer your question, Eddie?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, we've got a motion in a second with all the stipulations that we've got in there, mainly that you get to authorize, that we authorize the chief to sign it. I'll call the question. All in favor? Eddie?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Chief, make it happen. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, next item on the agenda, the 2020 SPLOST Declaration. Mr. Hedges.
Everyone is aware we included $700,000 in SPLOST designated for internet. We're going to make our contribution for the internet project of $970,000 from funds received from the American Rescue Plan. That makes this $700,000 sitting in SPLOST as a completed project. What is required of the board is to declare that project complete through a resolution. That would be followed by reallocation of those funds to another one of the categories within SPLOST. And I need to point out that the categories that are eligible, since these are bonds from the Public Facilities Authority, they can go to any one of the other categories other than roads. Roads was not a bonded project with funds that we received. It would be my recommendation that this allocation of $700,000 go to Monroe County Emergency Services. We don't need funds in our water projects. We just approved about $1 million funding for recreation. We don't need funds into the convention center. We don't need funds in the development authority. That's about the only place we can put it where there is a great need at this time. So it would be my recommendation for the Board of Commissioners to declare the $700,000 SPLOST project for the allocation of internet as complete and to approve the reallocation of those funds to Monroe County Emergency Services. And if you have questions, I will defer those to my learned attorney sitting to my right.
I'll make a motion, we approve the county manager's recommendation that internet be complete and those funds be allocated to the EMS.
Which includes fire, right?
Right.
So got a motion to authorize this resolution that we've got in here. We've got in your packet. Yeah, and that's a second. Did I get a second or that was
I'll second. Yeah, I do have one question.
We're in discussion. I only had one question. I'm not quite sure if it's, I think it does obviously pertain to this. $700,000 goes to EMS. Does any of that come out of the 2022 budget?
No, sir.
Meaning, does that lower? It doesn't lower what we.
The SPLOST runs from 2020 to 2025, 26, so it's just funds. From the way I look at it, we took $800,000 out of Monroe County Emergency Services SPLOST funds to pay for finalizing the building. That was funds that were probably originally intended to be used on equipment.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Fair enough. I mean, I got that.
Could what are all those funds to be used on? That was my question.
Anything capital.
Okay.
Any equipment
Fire trucks,
Good.
et cetera.
and on building.
Then
There you
Capital
go.
expenditure.
capital.
We got plenty of that.
Got plenty that will
That
reach
will
out and take
have,
it.
yeah.
Right. All right. So we got the motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to, if I may, very
Yeah,
quickly,
hold on.
before we formalize or finalize this, I just want to give both of you gentlemen kudos on, you had to take your shoes off, I'm sure, a little bit on this one, county attorney, to figure out how to do all this, and I know just because I was involved in some of those conversations and meetings that was not an easy thing to do to figure out how we were going to skin the cat on this one, and so appreciate all of both of your efforts. Thank you.
All right, got a motion and a second. No further discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Eddie, so that resolution is approved unanimously. All right, thank you all for that. Next item on the agenda is a real estate affirmation. So Ben, will you make a presentation?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, the county purchased, real property located at 42 Talladega River Road. Most of y'all know that as Falls View. The restaurant is High Falls. The purchase price was $375,000, and we need to affirm that purchase.
Okay, very good. What's the pleasure of the board? It's your district, George.
Yeah. Motion to approve.
I hear you. Got a motion to approve, got a second. Yeah. All right, got a motion and a second to affirm the purchase that was completed. Any discussion? Got a motion and a second. Motion from Commissioner Monty, second from Commissioner Ambrose. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
I'd like one thing on discussion before we vote on it.
Oh, okay.
I'd just like to know the public knows that we didn't twist her arm.
Oh, right.
She voluntarily
She
sold
cleared
it to us.
She already cleared it up.
Yeah, I know, because a lot of people still question.
Right. It was not under duress that they
Right.
made the sale and we made the purchase. So, all right, got a motion and a second. Call the question. All in favor? Eddie?
Aye.
Got a unanimous decision to affirm the real estate purchase. All right, very good. Next item on the agenda, Dames Ferry right-of-way easement for Central Georgia EMC. This is over at the fire station on Dames Ferry or Highway 18.
And you refer to section J, there's a map in your book. Our neighbor, Mr. Marcus Jacob, owns 53.5 acres directly to the east of our Dames Ferry fire station. He wants to build his home on that acreage. The nearest electrical line available sits right in front of Dames Ferry Recycling Center. You see on the map, you can see the utility pole is sitting right in the middle. He has contacted Central Georgia EMC. He wants these facilities underground, and they have requested a right-of-way easement for underneath, go underneath our driveway. I've contacted our engineer, Joe Wood. He said that 4 feet down, this electrical line will also be encased in a 2 to 3 inch piece of pipe that should not cause any problems to our driveway, will not interfere, and should not be of any concern. So they have, Central Georgia EMC has provided us with a right-of-way easement contract that has been reviewed by Attorney Vaughn, designated, highlighted in yellow. It is underground. So ask for approval for the chairman to sign this right-of-way easement.
Is there any way we could see this on maps? Something about this just doesn't seem kosher.
You talking about, can you put it up on the?
Yeah, I mean, is there any way we can see a bigger map of this? Because you look at the maps we've got here, something's not adding up on this. I went out and looked at it, I can't figure out why they need to go across our property when telephone poles, they're like every 400 or 500.
It's underground. That's what they're.
Yeah, but I mean, why have they got to come across our property? Why don't they tag in off another pole, go straight into the property? Because that's a liability to us anytime later if we want to do anything on our property, digging, anything like that, or changing something. I mean, I can't understand why they can't come straight in off the road into their property. That's why I'd like to see a bigger map of it, see what the deal is. Because if you look at this map that we've got here, where the end of that red line is,
Yep.
What's that?
I did the red line.
I mean, what's at the end of it? That's the pole?
It's, I'm seeing a shadow of a pole there in the photograph.
But that's where they're going to want to tie onto it there and dig underneath our thing.
Correct.
Why don't they just come in off 18 into their property?
I was told that this was the nearest line.
That's just, that's.
Because the poles run all up and down the highway.
I will say this, and I'm not trying to muddy the water anymore, but I did wonder why they didn't take it straight out to the road and then down along the street right away. I mean, but so I'm not an engineer on the project. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I suspect the reason for that is the shortest distance between
Sure.
2 points of straight lines. You can make that request and they go to the street code.
And they're also burying it, what, 4 feet deep?
Yes,
You know, now it will be, I mean, they use an excavator and all of that, they'll dig it up, and then they'll have to come underneath it and dig on up, so there'll be some disturbance of land, but I kind of understand where you're
I
at.
can go with this on one condition. If they put somewhere in that contract that in the future, if we have to do something over there, that we've got no cost incurred on their line if it's got to be moved or something happens to it. Because they're trying to save the money instead of going straight to the highway and going down. They're trying to save the length of the bore.
I'm with you on that. In fact, I would agree with that. Ben, I think I looked at you, you knew I was wondering whether that would work. I think you understood that. So you think that we can make that request from EMC and that they will approve that?
I don't know whether they'll approve it or not.
I got it.
Make a request and I understand.
But it should be that property owner's wanting to do it. He should be responsible for it in the future if something happens to this line.
I think you can make that request, or you can either make the chairman's request or vote that they go to the right of way and then over, so it impacts the property.
They're still going to have to go underneath our driveway.
It's a valid concern.
It is. Why don't we?
Can we postpone this till the next meeting? I want to go out there and take some more measurements out there and look at this. I just don't like them putting this in where they're doing it.
Or could we? The other thing too is if you've got a person ready to put a post, they're ready to get to build. We got to wait another 2-3 weeks or a month or whatever. This is my suggestion. So I'll make the motion is that contingent upon a discussion with EMC that they either go down to 18, straight out to 18 and down, or what was the other one? You said another line, but either they do that or they give us the right, or they give us the guarantee rather that
If we improve that area or
improve it, there needs to be that line needs to be moved, or that power line needs to be moved. That they'll do it at no cost to the county. Then, if I make that motion, and then if those are the contingencies, then that way we don't have to come back.
Yeah.
Is that fair
Because
enough?
we never know what we'll do to that property in the future.
Does that sound decent to you?
Yes,
Okay, that's my motion.
That's good.
I'll second.
John.
I got a second from John. All right, so any other discussion on it? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Eddie?
Aye.
Got a unanimous approval on that with the contingencies. And so, Ben, who needs to handle that? Ben, who handles that with EMC? Jim? Okay. Thank you. Next item in the old business, building ordinance amendment. Mr. Vaughn.
See, Deputy Wilson's left the room, but he will wholeheartedly support the board passing this ordinance. He's grappling with some unsafe properties around the county. We're working on those. We have several that there'll be court actions involving in the coming weeks that are unsafe not only to the inhabitants but the visitors and surrounding populations. These are minimum building codes, as we discussed last time. Y'all reviewed an ordinance like this several times. We've gone through and worked with Brett Haynes, Charles Abbott, and we've removed the high contention points from the last ordinance and tried to streamline it as much as possible. But I'll answer any questions. This is the second time that's been in front of y'all, so if you have any questions,
Questions or comments for Mr. Vaughn?
We think we'll have the teeth we need to enforce some of these very basic rules that I think we're way behind on passing. But I mean, will this do everything we need it to do?
I don't know that it'll do everything we need it to do, but I think it'll put us a large step in the right direction. And as some of this evolves, we find out where there's issues with this, we'll come back and ask y'all to improve.
Yeah.
I would not say that this will solve every problem we have in the county, but I think it'll help.
I can tell you, I know of dozens and dozens of hardworking, tax-paying citizens, in my district, particularly around High Falls, that will give us a standing ovation for finally deciding to clean some of this riffraff up. Quite honestly, it's been long overdue, and there's always a process to things, and I appreciate all of your hard work, but it's got to be done. It's got to be done. It really does.
There's several commissioners in High Falls that we're working with now that are huge issues. In your package, you have some photographs. And there are people living in these, but you'll see it's 4 or 5, maybe 6 pictures back where this residence is actually accessed by a 6 to 8 foot ladder. And that's the only way for multiple inhabitants coming in and out of the house. It's a safety hazard, fire hazard, all the way around.
Just in skimming it, the only thing I might request that we add is if we pick a point in time where, however far back Monroe County started doing certificate of occupancies, and from that day forward, any property that was added, or any building or habitable space of any kind, whether it be a camper, trailer, whatever, that was installed that has inhabitants in it, if there was not a CO, that we have the right to go and basically terminate that as a potential habitable dwelling. I mean, the bottom line is I can think of several who, just from looking at where they were put, and I had a constituent in my district tour me around for an hour and a half one day, showing me some things that I had never seen. And at the end of the day, I mean, some of these have sewage lines that are not even buried; they're just running out into the woods. Well, that was never permitted in this county, and it should not require a lengthy process to literally go and yank that thing up and take it somewhere else. And so, I mean, whatever we need to do or pass to be able to have the ability to do that, we need to do it. Do you think that's in? Are we good with that in here?
I think we are, and there in here it talks about sanitation, and there's several places that I'm also aware of in High Falls that are doing exactly what you're talking about. The septic just runs out the back of the house all around, even into some rivers and streams and things. That will be a violation of this, and they can be cited and fined with a much quicker process than the unsafe building process.
Yeah. And I don't believe unless it's a mobile home park or something like KOA or something, they should be living in these pull behind campers, things like that, because they're popping up all through our county.
Yep.
Everywhere. And there should be a permit if they want to put that mobile home in there, that portable camper, while they're building their home. They should come down and get a permit. I got no problem with that. But to make that a full-time permanent residence, that little camper, we need to stop that.
Agreed.
Commissioner, the current ordinance does not allow that, but the current ordinance is not as clear as it could be. We are working on that updated UDO, and it will be, and I sent these provisions to Brandon that's drafting that. It'll be crystal clear in the updated UDO.
Because the current one doesn't permit it, but it's not enforceable. It seems like Officer Wilson can't stop them.
Right. They'll be subject to citation and fine once they pass. I think it's a 30 or 60-day window. It may be even shorter than that. They have to have documented proof that the recreational vehicle has moved even from the licensed campground within a certain period of time. Not only the camper, but also the campground owner will be responsible for making sure and having documentation that the recreational vehicle has left the campground and come back. The owner of the recreational vehicle and the campground owner or operator will be subject to citation and fines and other penalties if they do not have that appropriate documentation. So it'll be enforceable and clear. I talked to Brandon yesterday, hoping to have a draft of that to Jim and Kelsey and Jeff, and hopefully Brett put some input in the next day or so, pushing them to get that moving.
Because with the cost of housing nowadays, it's a lot easier to go out and buy a $35,000 camper and make it a permanent residence. We don't want that.
That's right. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve this zoning change.
Got a motion to approve the ordinance as submitted. You want to second that?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, just real quick, I just want to make, I've had the same questions that George has had posed to me, and that's, we keep telling people we don't have any teeth in the law that gives us the ability to address these problems, and now we're saying that this is giving us the teeth that we need, and so the questions that come back from that was that actually where's the compliance, where's the rules of enforcement, where's the steps for enforcement, and I'm hoping that we will get that and make that clear in the next few days, and hopefully be able to post it publicly so people will know this is exactly what you can expect, because I think there's still questioning, one, because I may have something in the very back of my backyard, are you going to come write me a ticket? And two, on the flip side, do you have the ability, do you have what you need now to stop some of these pictures that we see here and to eliminate some of these problems? And I think just some good clarification will help our citizens understand this as well.
Commissioner, those are good questions. The violation of this ordinance will be treated like a violation of the county ordinances as a whole, and we'd be prosecuted as such, just like a disorderly conduct violation or anything else. It'll be subject to a citation and fine. Deputy Wilson can issue citations for violation of this, and they'll be prosecuted by my office and through the magistrate court.
And then if they lose and those are all enforced, I mean, you at that point can get judgments right against them and put that those will then be placed as liens against the property, correct? If they're not paid.
It's less of a civil penalty, and it's more of a criminal penalty.
Okay.
They're required to pay those fines or subject to additional penalties from the court. It's not something they can get away with not paying. And Commissioner Roll had one other question in there, and I forgot what it was as I was talking there.
Did you get all your questions answered, Eddie?
Yeah, I think so. Just making sure we're very clear and get the word out to the public. Not to be afraid of this ordinance, but to understand what we're actually attacking and why we're attacking. I think people can look at these pictures and fully understand what problem that the county needs to take care of, and I just want to make sure that, one, they understand we do have the teeth and the ability to take care of these problems now, and the other is to not have fear that we're going to send a code enforcement officer for something very trivial. I mean, we've got a lot of serious issues to deal with here. This is not trying to harm somebody's basic property rights.
And that was the other point I was going to address, Commissioner. Thank you. Is that Deputy Wilson works with all of the property owners. He tries to avoid writing citations when he can. I think would be a fair summary of how he handles it. He'll discuss issues with property owners multiple times. I don't think this is an ordinance that it is something that I think the example Commissioner Rowland used, if somebody has something way in the backyard of their property that grass is too tall. Let's use a simple example. That Deputy Wilson's going to be on the property every day with a ruler telling them how to mow their grass. That's not actually in here. I'm just trying to use a simple example. But Deputy Wilson works with all the property owners to try to correct it short of a citation, but he'll issue them again.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Here, no further discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor? Eddie?
Aye.
All right, that's the ordinance has been approved. Jeff, time to get to work. All right, next item on the agenda is the LMIG contract award. Jim and Sean.
We might have to do this from the slides that are included in your packet. Late last year, you selected roads for the local maintenance and improvement grant. LMIG grant is based on a formula of centerline miles, population. Project list is required, which we submitted. Each qualifying jurisdiction will get a grant at the beginning of each year. We have a 30% match on this grant, and the jurisdictions have the control of those expenditures. And after we complete, county certification of work completed is required. Chairman Tapley signed the 2019 completion yesterday. Our LMIG grant was $603,050. Our match is $258,450 for total funds for this LMIG project of $851,500. The projects themselves include Wilder Drive area for mill and patch and resurface. Projected cost of $139,593. District 1B, there was two projects in Commissioner Davis's district. The second one is Forsyth Landing area, mill, patch, and resurface. Projected cost of $75,572. District 2 was Flint Road, mill, patch, and resurface. Estimate of $214,975. District 3, County Creek Road, mill, patch, and resurface. That was $215,079 was the estimate. District 4 was Lakeshore Road. Work was mill, patch, and resurface at a cost of estimated to be $215,100. We'll skip over the photos in the presentation, show you where those were located. We conducted our bids in accordance with established procedures. We had 3 bids. Mount Construction was the lowest of $1,022,584. C.W. Matthews was second, $1,037,157, difference of $15,000. And the final bid was from Reeves Construction, $1,112,697. This slide shows bids by district. The length of 5.58 miles, budget, and the bid amount. We were $162,533 over the LMIG grant and match. Ms. Robinson tells me those funds are available in the 2020 SPLOST roads funds. If you want to go forward and approve these projects, $1,022,856 funds are available. There has been discussion from Commissioner Ambrose regarding perhaps changing the scope of work. Should you desire to change that scope of work and get backward in budget, it would be my recommendation, since there was only a $15,000 difference between the first and second bidder, that you would rebid this project. Mr. Chairman?
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to throw out all these bids, and the low bidder is one that I'm not satisfied with their work. The work that they've done, we've had trouble with, but all this, we need to redo the scope of the work on them, just like that Country Creek. That could be done for roughly $130, and we're paying $250. Their bid was $245. This is one of the deals where I would like for us to have an hour, 2-hour meeting one time, have some of these local vendors in here, and explain to them, because they've made a monopoly on the asphalt around here. C.W. Matthews has, but some of the other bidders we got go to Gray and buy the asphalt there and bring it in. I've had bids on that Country Creek from the other ones. Big difference. We should get away from this engineering these roads. If it's a new road, a brand new road's not existing, I could say, yes, we need engineering. But if it's an existing road and it just needs resurfacing, Junior, y'all have done this for years. I mean, you just get the guys come out, if it's a 24-foot wide road, he tells me he wants 2 inches asphalt on it, give us a bid on it. We don't need to engineer it, and they include their flagging in with that.
So what's your motion? Is your motion?
Throw out these bids and let's sit down and look at this, because we can't, with the mileage we've got this county do, at the prices these guys are charging, we can't do it. I would like us to have a meeting with the local people, some other ones, because you see, none of our people bid on this. There's all these big companies. I say hold off on us LMEGs. When have we got to spend that LMEG?
You've got 3 years.
3 years. I say we put this off because our roads right now are better shape than any of the surrounding counties. You know, just drive them, but to keep them up, we need to do it. This projects here, we need to put off till we can get a handle on what we've got to put on the state procurement website and what we've got to bid local.
Okay.
Because we need to find the limits. I'm not sure if it's 100,000
100,000.
before we got to go to procurement website.
Yes, sir.
Because it could be possible we could break some of these down into smaller projects.
Half a mile pops.
I mean, some of them we don't need to do it all. But I think we need to throw all this out and quit engineering. Kim Stokes said the engineering was a good price we're paying for the engineering. I agree with that. But it is engineering necessary because that opens up the high bid, and these people put in the high bid and then they contract it out.
So, moving forward today, the
Let's
floor is open. You've got
disregard it, throw out all bids, and hold off on this till we can have a meeting and come up with better ways to pave these roads.
do we take that as a motion, or we just don't need to? If we just don't have a motion to approve, then we just basically we're tabling that.
I think you need to table, or I think Commissioner Ambrose's motion was actually to reject the bid, would be a motion.
You got a motion to reject the bids. Any seconds?
I'll second for discussion because
Okay.
I got, one thing I'm not convinced of is that you don't need engineers to produce a road. I mean, there's more to building a road, I think, than maybe what we're giving, credence to it. And now, if it's an existing road and it's already at some point prior been engineered, that may be a different situation. But I know that, a poorly manufactured road, if you will, is going to be likely to fail, which ultimately ends up costing more money in the end. Like the old saying is, better to do it right the first time. And there is a lot of, there's a lot to account for in terms of, how the topography is and how much buildup and the compaction rates of the soil when you move it and all that kind of stuff. There's again, I'm just a realtor, but I know that there's more to it than, you and me going out there and saying, oh, it looks about right. You know what I mean? So now at the same time, I would be interested in finding out, are there some other counties that are doing it the way you're talking about, and how have they found to do it? Because and I don't disagree with you. It does, even since I've been on this board, it is dumbfounding to me how much more these projects cost now.
And another thing that this engineer is not looking at, there's about 3 or 4 different ways to pave the road. You got chip seal, you got triple surface, you got all different kind of ways. All they're doing is going for the king of the road. And when we've got like a subdivision that the thing's built out, like Country Creek, for example, why go in there? There's no excess traffic in it. It's just the people in there. Why not go in there, triple surface, chip seal, do something? There's spots that need to be the full depth reclamation. We've never paid anybody. Kim Stokes would tell us what we needed on that for the full depth reclamation, and then we get it done. Mm-hmm. But why not look at these? Go down there on what's the name of that road off Wesleyan Drive? That's a chip seal we did probably 8 years ago.
Wesley is?
Yeah. I mean, it's perfect. And a chip seal and a triple surface are a lot safer road. You don't have all these people sliding around this black asphalt, turning over, but it's half the cost. Because some roads need 2 inches asphalt. A lot of them can get by with a chip seal or triple surface. We don't have to have these smooth roads. If it's paved, take Rumble Road for example. That's triple surface. It's a main artery through there. There's nothing wrong with that. Why don't we do that on some of these other roads? Save the money. We could pave twice the amount of roads for that.
I'm with you on having a meeting where we have the contractors, if we need to bring somebody in from the state, DOT or whatever, just to make sure that we're doing it properly and have that discussion and learn about it. I mean, I'm willing to learn what we can and can't do because I'd rather us not pay any extra when we don't have to.
And go out and look at some of the examples we've got existing. I mean, man, we've got to get the best bang for a buck we can get, and these engineers are not doing that for us. They're putting we don't need a roller skate rink road.
So you got a motion and a second, just reject the bids as they've been presented on those. Okay. Eddie, you got any thoughts or comments?
Well, first off, I've asked, so I've talked. I'm fine with him coming to meet us all, and folks coming to meet with all of us in the commission meeting, or hire somebody else to or ask somebody from the DOT to come. I would like to get to the end of it, and we continuously go over this same thing over and over and over. We just talk about triple surface. I've asked our road superintendent, and I've asked somebody else in the road business, because I don't know. Is triple surface as good a quality of road as far as long-term maintenance as the normal type of road? And their answer is no. It doesn't last as long.
I disagree with that.
I know, John. I hear it continuously from you. It does last as long. It does last. Well, I don't know. I mean, I wish somebody professionally in the business, and we have an engineer that's professionally in the business, and now we don't believe him. So who are we going to get to come next month to our commission meeting and say, guys, this is the way it is, and this is what you got to do, and whatever it costs, and put this thing in.
Well, that's what I was suggesting. So
I've been asking for this meeting for over a year, and I never get it. Yet Commissioner Davis comes in here right off the bat. We got a meeting with the city and county. Why can't I request this meeting and get as much attention as what he got on this county thing to work together? Because if we could sit down and iron this out and have a workshop on this, you'd be surprised what we could come up with and save some taxpayer dollars.
Let's do it.
I've been asking for.
So hold on. So let me get to real fast. Let me get to we got a motion and a second to reject the bids. Let's go ahead and make that decision. Any further discussion on rejecting the bids? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of rejecting the bids? Eddie?
Aye.
Okay, so we're all in agreement on that. Now, let's just direct Jim to send out an email, find a date and time. We also need to find out who the players need to be. Kim Stokes is definitely one. Engineer we need to have there as well. If there's somebody from DOT, or state legislature, to get them in here, because if there's a state regulation that we have to put it on the.
But it doesn't have to be in here. Just give a description. All it's got to be is a description of what you want done.
And that's right. So I want everybody in the room so that we can do exactly what Eddie's talking about, what you're talking about. Let's put it to bed, because I think your point's valid, but we do keep going around and around on it. So we'd like to move forward. So Jim, if you'll work, that good with everybody?
Yep.
Jim, if you'll work on setting a date, Eddie's good with that too.
Sounds good.
Let's keep moving. Thank you. And John, I appreciate your concern. It'll help all of us extend the road money. If it's, yeah, exactly. That's right. All right. Next item on the agenda, item M, T-Splosh resolution. Jim, go ahead. Make the presentation.
This is the last piece of work that the Board of Commissioners need to complete on calling for the referendum for the T-Splosh vote. This is a resolution instructing the superintendent of elections to put this on the ballot in November. We've done this a few times before, so the motion would be to approve the resolution calling for the T-Splosh vote on November the 2nd.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion, we go with.
Motion approved by Commissioner Ambrose, got a second from Commissioner Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Eddie, that resolution is passed unanimously. All right, next item on the agenda is commissioners' comments. Anybody? We've made a few already.
I was going to say, we probably already had
We should be commented out.
our pro rata share for the day.
All right, moving on to public comments. What I've got on the agenda is and Eddie, hey, mute that. Thanks, bud. Anyway, so we had some conversation about the Liberty Communities subdivision down on Sanders Road and Highway 41. They contacted me and just said, look, we'd like to come to your meeting. I said, you're welcome to come to the meeting or just submit a statement about what you're wanting to do. The concern was prefab homes, I think is the main thing. And so what they did was they sent a letter that they asked me to read. So I'm going to read this letter that's to all of us as the commission. And then from there, it states, good afternoon, Mr. Tapley, our statement. We at Liberty Communities are humbled and excited for the opportunity to build new single-family homes in Monroe County. At Bolingbroke Manor, we will offer 2-story plans with up to 5 bedrooms, full front brick elevations, and fiber cement siding on the sides and rear. To ensure our superior standards, each Liberty home undergoes a thorough quality assurance inspection before closing. We stand behind our homes with a 1-year builder warranty and 10-year structural warranty, so homeowners can rest assured they are covered. Liberty Communities is grateful for the contribution of Middle America and our hometown heroes. These neighbors deserve the opportunity and freedoms offered through home ownership. Over 60% of our homes are purchased by teachers, firefighters, police officers, EMT, paramedics, and nurses. We look forward to providing homes to the heroes who serve and live in Monroe County by providing them with a quality house they can afford and make their home. Our goal at Liberty Communities is not only to produce quality homes, but also to guide, educate, and serve needs in our communities. We are not a big conglomerate builder detached from our communities. We responsibly provide features in our homes that our customers need in order to live fully. Our mission is to be humble stewards of God's resources for the eternal good of our partner vendors, employees, customers, and community. Regards, this is Chrissy Marley, the Marketing Director for Liberty Communities. And they just wanted that read into the record after the last discussions. From there, the floor is open for anybody to make public comments otherwise. Anybody? Ms. Carpenter, is that right, Carpenter?
Yes, Carter.
If you would, come on up.
I'm a speaker.
And when you speak, before you speak, just name and address, please.
Deborah Carpenter, 205 Hilltop Circle, Lorraine Woods. I'm concerned, and I've talked with our neighbors, quite a few of them, is that we went from a $350,000+ homes to $200,000 homes. And we're concerned that the builders will not use the materials that show those values. And now, with a new owner, you see these new signs, $200,000 houses in the $200,000 range. And then I read in the paper, and I'll quote, I need my glasses, they'll build the homes for $45 a square foot. I can't build a doghouse for $45 a square foot. I've had some work done on my house. No way. And I don't know how they can say that.
I don't think they really.
I don't think they.
I don't think they said or meant it. There's no way they can do
I
that.
think y'all need to be on top of them because I also looked at some properties in Bibb County, an area that they built in, and I've looked at their plans, $300,000 plans, 200. And the houses in Bibb County, they're not selling for $200,000. $144,000, $169,000. Why?
Because everybody,
It's in South Bibb County, nice area in South Bibb County. So I don't know what y'all can do now. But we went from a upscale neighborhood to a lower neighborhood, and my house is not a big $400,000 house at all. I've been there 37 years, but I've kept it up.
I think the minimum they said was 2,400 square foot, and that's a pretty decent sized home. And
What's that selling for?
300,
100,
280.
115, 125 a foot.
Yeah.
So the minimum in their thing is 2,400 square foot. So
Minimum, okay?
Our inspector.
2,400 square foot by, even by $100 a square foot, $240,000.
That's the cost to build it. Then you got to take their profit a
So
lot.
my question is, how are they going to sell a house in $200,000 range?
They're not. Let's just get you in there.
Well, I'm scared of what they're building in there.
Ma'am, the same thing over here at Juliet Crossing, right over here on the other side of the interstate. They got the exact same sign up there. I think it's a different builder, it's not Liberty, but it says homes of 200,000. There's not a house in there sold for less than 290. Most of them are selling 350 to 400. But it's the exact same sign. They just put that 200 to get these people kind of look. And then when the real estate agent gets in and starts talking about, well, how much can you afford? Well, I can only afford like $900 a month. Well, then they come up with these brilliant loans, so you don't look at what the cost is, it's how much you can afford monthly payments, but the price of the house is going up.
So you're telling me, and I don't have the data on this, y'all do, their minimum size house is 2,400 square feet?
Yes,
They
yes.
cannot build anything smaller than 2,400?
No, that's just what they've applied for. That they placed 10 applications for houses, and that was the smallest one that I think they went up to over 3,000 feet on some of them.
We're on the playground, and I don't know, I don't do a lot of Facebook and all. They want to put in some empty nester houses that are some smaller houses.
they didn't apply for that. They got to go by for what they applied for.
Ms. Carpenter, one of the problems you've got, and I'm sorry to say this, is that you're getting some of your information from the paper, which can't get it right most of the time. And you've also got an issue with Facebook where people don't understand. They make up things and put it out there, and they go off half-cocked. It's just a problem without getting the facts. 2,400 square feet is the minimum that's been applied for. But as a side note, we have a minimum in this county. What is it? Or do we even have a minimum?
It's a very
It's small, but
whatever residential code is.
yeah, but the lot sizes, or people keep putting on Facebook, oh, these lot sizes are not even an acre. They are an acre. They've been surveyed out. They've been platted that way. Just because it doesn't look like an acre to them, it is. And so I have a real problem with misinformation in this county. And I'm appreciative of your concerns, but at the same time, we've addressed those, with them.
And then my other, can I speak on
Yes,
that?
ma'am, sure, absolutely.
Well, another concern is in my neighborhood, they took a lot and they split it into a 1 acre lot.
Mhm.
And they're building a house that's much smaller than what's in there. And it was accepted by the county commissioners due to hardship. Well, we just had the 14th death in our neighborhood of a spouse. So the hardship, I could have come in here 13 years ago and said, my husband passed away. I need to split my lot, which y'all have done it for me. We don't have an HOA.
Is your lot big enough to split?
No, mine's not.
But the one you're referenced to is like a 2.5, 3 acre lot,
Right,
and it's got to meet a 1 acre minimum.
And my question, you, Mr. Ambrose, you made a statement at that meeting, I listened to it on the phone. You said that there was only one other lot in our neighborhood that could be split like that. Did you research that? And you even said which lot it was.
I quickly looked at the plat of that area on our tax map, and I just quickly going over it, I only saw one other one that might qualify.
Okay, can we research that and find out for sure?
I mean, they haven't applied, ma'am. If they applied, then we'll look at it. But nobody else has applied, just that one.
Be careful, what you say, you said you looked at it and you thought that was the only one.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Well, that sets a precedence where somebody else can say, I've got a 4-acre lot, I want to split it, I want to make a 1-acre lot. I don't have problems with the 2-acre plus lots, or 1-acre, but to take, and what they did is they cleared that lot completely, that new lot completely. And it's, and they're on a dry creek bed also, which they're talking about changing. So I don't know, I'm just asking you to follow up when people get building permits and check it out and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Well, our building department does that, zoning, everything, but that's the only one in that subdivision that's come forward.
Well, I appreciate y'all's concern, and I hope you're looking out for the best benefit for all residents of Monroe County. And, I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Carter, one other thing, it'll make you feel better. If you drive over here to Juliet Crossing, look at that sign, drive down there and look at those homes. That's going to be just about the exact thing you're seeing built down there.
Well,
It's a
I've been
beautiful
driving down
neighborhood.
Sanders Road and
I agree. I just hate to see subdivisions coming.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the executive session. Oh, I'm sorry, Sean, yeah, come on up. Sorry, it's just a public comment.
Well, it's a comment related to the LMIG. I don't know if I still got time.
Yeah, sure, yeah, just.
I just want to let the board know that we designed the resurfacing project to DOT guidelines for asphalt resurfacing. If the board would like to do a sand seal or chip and seal, we can look at those options. So I think meeting as a group, have a workshop with you, maybe local contractors, is a good idea, because the goal is when we look at these roads with Junior and we look what we want to do, we protect the cost. But y'all need to know what y'all getting for that cost. If y'all want to do something different, you need to know that when you approve the project is for help. So I think it's a good idea to meet and talk about what y'all want to do as far as stretching your money. I'm a resident of Monroe County, so the more we can stretch money, good.
John, just to clarify, LMIG money comes from DOT. Do we have to spend that money in accordance to DOT guidelines? Or
Yes.
specifications?
Yes, but
Is it,
chip seal, double surface treatment with a sand seal, some of those are options. If the board would like to do that on some roads, that's
are
that's
they
their
DOT
choice.
specifications?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was
Good
just,
question.
that was the direction when we wrote the roads, we put a package together. We presumed the board was okay with the, what you call a typical section. So if that needs to change, if we need to look at some local contractors, I think that's a good idea.
I like the fact that you're looking at some different ways of paving it. We don't need roller skate roads.
Roller skate roads. All right. Anybody else? All right, this time we have a need for an executive session for the purpose of real estate. I'll entertain a motion to move into that. Got a motion for.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask litigation for that too, please?
And so, need a motion for move into executive session for real estate and litigation. Do I have a second? Got a second. Commissioner Davis, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's approved. Going to vacate the room, please. Excuse me.
Make sure your mic's on.
Microphone.